After 60, don't wait for your family to save you. Build these 5 pillars instead. I had a client, brilliant woman, 63 years old. She'd led a department of 40 people, raised a family, built a career, and survived a lot of things that most people have never had to. I mean, very, very strong woman. And we were talking about her future plans after retirement. And after I asked her a few questions, she said a few times, I'm just waiting to see how things turn out. And the word waiting really stopped me in my tracks because this was not a woman who had drifted through life. She had spent decades making things happen, had never waited for things, but somehow she had decided that post retirement, all of that was going to change and that she would be gently handing over all of her circumstances to sort of chance and, maybe handing it over to her family to look after her, not necessarily financially, but in terms of everything. What I wanted to talk to you about today was this whole concept of assuming everything will be all right, assuming that the family will rally around, assuming that, well, I will start this thing when I feel more confident, or I'll wait to see what happens. But waiting is not harmless. It actually can become a way of living. And the longer you wait for somebody else to create your security, your health, your sense of purpose, the harder it will become to get your life back. And believe me, 35 to 65 happens so fast. So today I'm going to give you what I think are the 5 pillars that you can start to build now. 5 things that will help you stay independent, strong, and connected and fully in the game, whatever your family does or does not do for you. And this is not about rejecting your family. It is about refusing to make them responsible for your life once you get past a certain age. And stay with me because the 5th pillar in particular is the one that gives all the others a reason to exist. So the people I've seen age most powerfully are not necessarily the people that had the easiest lives or had the most support. They were the people who kept building, kept making decisions, kept learning, and kept contributing. They didn't surrender their freedom simply because they reached a certain birthday. And that really matters because aging well is not one decision. It is the result of many small decisions that compound over a period of time. The strength session that you decide to do today, the friendship that you protect and you go and do the social thing even if you don't have time, the skill you keep using. All of these things are the reason you get up today, and they will be the same reason that will make you get up tomorrow. Before I go into the 5 pillars, if you are watching this and you're still here and you're not 60 yet, please do stay, because what I'm about to share with you will compound over time. The earlier you start building these pillars, the stronger you will arrive at 60, 70, 80. And, the people I've seen struggle most are the ones who don't start this until much later, especially those who never start at all. So if you're in your 40s, 50s, and you're watching this, you are not watching it too early. You are watching it exactly the right time for you. So let's get into the first pillar. And the first pillar is financial freedom. I use this word deliberately, not because this is about becoming a millionaire at 75. I mean, often when we talk about financial freedom, when we're coaching people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, it is about that. But at this point, I'm talking about it about retaining the ability to make choices. And money gives you options, doesn't it? It gives you options about where you can live, what help you can buy, whether you can travel, whether you can leave a situation that no longer serves you, whether that's a home, a job, a relationship. Financial independence at this point in this context is not about having sort of millions to buy yachts and big houses. It is not about greed. It is about protection. And I don't just mean, having a pension or learning to spend less and budget more. Your knowledge, your experience, and your decades of judgment are also still major assets, and they also don't stop having value just because you've reached retirement age. I mean, I spent 20 years in oil and finance, and then more than 20 years building businesses and developing people. And the thing I understand now is that although information is everywhere, judgment is not. AI, yes, it can produce an answer for us in seconds, but it can't really reproduce that instinct that comes from making real decisions and managing people and recovering from mistakes and living through change. I mean, this is what many of us over 60 underestimate. We dismiss what we know because we feel it's obvious to us, but it is only obvious because we spent 40 years learning it. And that experience might become a consultancy opportunity, mentoring, teaching, writing, an online service, helping someone in a business solve a particular problem that you know how to do. So it doesn't need to become an empire at this point, but it is worth recognizing because it can keep you useful, it can keep you current and free. And if earning is not necessary for you because you have your finances sorted, the principles still stand. It still means that you're able to manage your own money, understand it, remain involved in all your decisions. Do not surrender your financial responsibility simply because somebody else is willing to take it from you. So your practical step from this pillar, from this video, is to write down 3 things that you know how to do that other people find difficult, and then ask who would benefit from one of these. What small problem could I help them solve, or big problem? And then maybe that is the start of a business plan. It's not your finished business plan, of course, but it is evidence that you still will have economic value. And you can start there and maybe start to think about a potential side hustle or new position once you actually get past retirement age. Pillar 2 is something I talk about a lot. It is physical strength. And I mean strength not simply being busy or getting your steps in and walking. I mean muscle, which is one of the foundations of independence. I mean, it helps you get out of a chair, yes, carry your shopping, climb the stairs, pick up your grandchildren. But more importantly, even, it will help you recover when life knocks you sideways. If there's an accident, if there is an illness. And after 60, strength training is no longer just about looking great. It's not about replicating how you looked at 25. It is about protecting your future freedom. I've experimented with almost everything to do with health: supplements, fasting, cryotherapy. I've covered it in some of my other videos, early starts, blood test, biohacks. And some are really useful, but some are not, and after years of testing, I keep coming back to the same truth. The basics done consistently, they beat the extremes done occasionally. And I'm 63, 64 next month. And I would say the single most important thing I've done for my physical future is that I've kept lifting. So you don't need to train like me. You don't need a regime that would frighten a 35-year-old, but you need a level that is safe for you, that you can repeat a couple of days every week. And that might just be sitting up and standing down again in your chair 10 times without holding onto the sides, as it was for an 87-year-old that I trained. And then, adding on light dumbbells as you stand up and sit down, maybe bands. Progress is not about where you begin. It's about gradually asking your body to do a bit more and a bit more. And here's the part that most people miss. When you become physically stronger, you not only change your body, but you really change your expectations of yourself. You stop treating yourself as a fragile, aging person who can't do things anymore, and you start to feel that you can do more and more and more. So your practical step for this pillar from this video is just to choose a couple of days per week when you will do some form of strength work. And if it's brand new to you and you need a program, I can give you one, or you will get one online. And if you have a medical condition, you do need to get professional advice and guidance. You probably need to get a blood test. And again, if you need help with that, let me know. But you don't need to wait until you feel fit enough to begin. I've started training people because they felt unwell, and that's enabled them to get to wellness. So beginning is how you become fit enough. Now, strength can help you carry your own shopping and everything, like I've said, but the next pillar will carry you through the big changes in life, and sooner or later, we all need it. And that third pillar is emotional independence. Now, this doesn't mean becoming cold or distant and needing no one. It means, though, not asking just one person, your partner or your child or your closest friend, to carry the entire weight of your inner life. Now, I've known people who have sadly lost a partner and were obviously devastated, as anyone would be. But the people who have found it the hardest to rebuild after that were those who had allowed over the years their friendships, their interests, their confidence to slowly wane and disappear, and put everything into that one relationship, that one person. And then when that person's gone, they not only had to get over losing someone that they really loved, but they had lost confidence in their whole life. They'd lost all their structure. And I want to say this gently, but clearly, building a life of your own is not a betrayal of the person that you love. It's one of the healthiest things that you can do for both of you, to keep something that's yours, a friendship, a place you go, a subject you're learning, a project that interests you, practice that helps you become quiet enough to hear your own thoughts, to know what you think about things, what your opinions are. Emotional resilience is not pretending to be positive when something terrible happens, but it is building resources before you need them. People you can call, routines that steady you. For me, that's always been exercise. Reflection that gives difficulty meaning. And the knowledge that you've survived change before. Now, we talk a lot about preparing financially for later life. We should prepare emotionally as well. Your practical step is to notice here where your emotional world has become a little bit narrow. Is there a friendship that you've allowed to drift? Is there an interest that you've abandoned? A decision you keep putting off or asking someone else to make for you? Just choose something this week and reclaim it. And if this pillar has made you think of something or someone, then tell me in the comment, what is that part of yourself that you'd really like to rebuild now? And don't forget, you doing that may actually give someone else the courage to begin as well. Right, on to pillar 4. And pillar 4 is about your environment and your community. And that especially means the people around you. Now, let me be clear. I'm not telling you to start to look at the people around you and abandon old friends or distance yourself from your family because they are not endlessly positive. I'm not saying that. Life is much more complicated than that. But the goal here is not to subtract anyone who's struggling, but the goal here is to add more people, places, and ideas and things that expand you, because what you hear repeatedly becomes normal. So if every conversation that you're hearing is about decline, illness, fear, what people can't do anymore, then your own future can begin to shrink without you even noticing it. But if you spend time with somebody who is learning, building, traveling, training, creating, laughing, then that possibility becomes normal again for you as well. Sometimes just having one person around you can really change the temperature of your whole life. Community protects us from isolation. You can start to enjoy your own company and not be lonely, but prolonged isolation can quietly reduce your confidence, our energy, and our willingness just to engage with the world. So don't wait for that time to happen, and don't wait to be invited. Join something now, volunteer, go to a club or a church, or take a class, or train with somebody, or have a lunch club or a book club, but make some calls. And remember, you're not only looking for people to boost you, by the way, and raise your energy. You've got the power to be that someone in other people's lives. I always look at people as being boosters or drainers, and I always want to be the booster. So think very much about you having that power as well. After everything you've learned and survived, you can walk into a room and make it better. So your practical step from this 4th pillar is to identify one thing in your environment where you feel like you could be more alive. Whether that is a friend or, as I said, a class or something to learn, just something of yourself, and start to incorporate it this week. And then ask, how can I contribute to someone as well? And be purposeful about doing that. The last pillar, pillar 5, last but by no means the least, is purpose. Not necessarily having one grand mission that changes the world. Purpose can be much quieter than that, but it is feeling that your day has shape, that somebody or something benefits because you've showed up, that you are moving in a direction which still belongs to you. One of the great dangers after retirement, or after children leave home, or after a long career end, not simply that you have more time, it's losing the structure that really, really mattered to you. And I've seen a number of people, have great careers and busy families, and they just really decline quickly when all of that finishes. And so look to build a deliberate structure. Your purpose may be to care for some people, but I would say not just one person. Don't just rely on being needed by your family, by that one person, because things change. Your family, they grow up, they have their own family. But it could be mentoring, creating, serving your community, not just one individual. It could be strengthening your body. It could be growing your new side business. It could be deepening your faith, learning something difficult like a language or something you've always wanted to do, or becoming a real proof to other people of what's possible at your age. And here's what nobody really tells you about life after 60. You have the judgment, like I said, that took decades to learn. You have perspective that only arrives after plans fail, relationships change, life forces you to begin in things again. You have evidence that you can survive things that your younger self would not have imagined. But experience only becomes wisdom when you use it. Your practical step, therefore, to finish this pillar is to say, at this stage of life, I want to be useful for. Don't overthink it. Just write that first honest answer. And then do one small thing this week that proves that's true. So those are the 5 pillars. 1 is financial agency. Keep your ability to choose and recognize that your experience still has some economic value. 2 is physical strength. Do not merely stay active, build strength that protects your independence. 3 is emotional independence. Love people deeply, but without making them solely responsible for your whole inner world. 4 is your environment and your community. Add people, places, things that expand your sense of what is still possible, and become that person for somebody else as well. And 5 is purpose. Give your days a direction that is yours. You don't have to rebuild all 5 of these at once, by the way. In fact, don't try. Just choose the pillar that feels the weakest today. Make one decision, take one action, and then repeat it next week. Because nobody is coming to live this chapter for us. Our family may love us, may support us, they may be beside us every step of the way. But they can't build our own strength. They can't protect our sense of self. They can't do that for us for the rest of our life. That part is ours alone to manage. That shouldn't be frightening. It is freedom. I want to age strong. I want to stay curious, keep building for as long as I'm here. And I want that for you too. So if you want to build this next chapter with me, subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments which of the 5 pillars you're going to work on first. And it's so lovely to talk to you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.